As Nigerians march towards the 2023 general election, political parties are coming up with different modalities to present marketable candidates for the election. This may explain why the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has decided to make open the presidential contest to all zones as it takes a major decision. This is the outcome of the party's 96th National Executive Committee NEC meeting on Wednesday in Abuja. However, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Debo Ologunagba, suggested that the party will work towards a consensus candidate where possible, noting that the recommendation was in the interest of justice and fair play. Now, this may, however, not sound like a justice to members of the party from southern Nigeria that think they should be given the opportunity this time around to produce the presidential candidates in the spirit of rotation between the north and south. How might the main opposition party navigate this issue without blemish ahead of its national convention on May 29? This and more will be the basis of our discussion tonight on Nigeria Today. Thanks a lot for joining us. I am Musbadan Wahab and we're coming to you from Abuja live on NTA News 24. I'll be back in just a moment with my guest. Thanks a lot for staying tuned in. We're looking at open presidential contest, matters arising, and joining me in the studio on the program is a lecturer from the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, and visiting research fellow, Sadat, Dr. Aminu Hayatu. Very good to have you, Doctor.
Thank you. Nice to have you.
And also joining us is a familiar face of this channel, and that's the Program Manager, Elections Jaeger Africa, Mr. Paul James. Good to have you.
Thank you for the invitation.
All right. We're saying something not really new, but the biggest news of the day from the People's Democratic Party, throwing it open to all that can make it. That's removing zoning from the agenda at this point in time. How do you receive this news?
Well, I think I received the news with mixed feelings because first I was worried that I hope this doesn't lead to the implosion of the party because we thought the party was just about getting it right. This is also looking at it with the party's constitution. If you read through the aims and objectives of the party, one of the points you see there is that the party will encourage zoning on the basis of promoting equity, promoting fair play, and also inclusion. But then to come up with this sort of news yesterday, although with also a caveat that it may consider consensus where possible, the first thing that comes to my mind is what could the party be thinking? I know it's all about, at the end, political interest. It's also all about what happens to the party, especially because if you think that it's all about numbers, and then if this is thrown open and with the caliber of candidates that they have in the party, some of them could pull the numbers based on also the political ideas they represent and also the kind of the political zone that they represent. But having said that, we know there is also this subtle or gentleman agreement between the parties since the party's inception in 1999, where you got this sort of subtle rotational arrangement between the north and the south. And then you could think that the party has not been in power for 16 years, that is the PDP. And then the last time that it was in power, it is somebody from the south that was in power. So if you are looking at it from the party might be right to leave it open so that to make it an open contest so that anybody from any part of the country that think they have the wherewithal and they have the kind of support that is needed to be on the party's ticket, on the ballot at the end might emerge. But then, having said that, also my concern is that we have been trying to avoid, we might see the recurrence of that, because if you are looking at it on the basis of what they have in their constitution, unless if the party had changed the constitution overnight, this might lead to litigation. Some persons might want to explore this opportunity, and if at the end they are not happy with the outcome of the primaries, may want to pursue the legal means to see that what the party had initially, the party go by that. But also, having said that, the other part is also about that there is still no clarity as to what other parties will want to do.
Adopt.
For instance, you got one of the parties that is supposed to have their primaries in 2 days also is looking at making some political capital from what is happening. I learned today that they are also considering moving their own primaries to the end of the month, so that if, of course, if there are grievances from the current arrangement and some of the heavyweights who want to shift ground to those parties, of course, because of the kind of the kind of political capital that those ones will bring, of course, it's going to favor the party. But be that as it may, I think for me, it's always about the party's interests, but then at the end, we also need to begin to think about the other part of the region.
Right,
so
indeed.
that we can
It's in the party's interest, and like you said, and you raised a very valid point. That's what this could lead to. That could lead to litigation afterwards. Now, Dr. Hayatu, this seems to be like a change or a shift in paradigm from what we used to know, though it's not written anywhere that it must be zoned, but is it an ideal situation to have an open contest within the political party? Because this has been the situation from time in Nigeria, in this democracy. How ideal is this open contest for the People's Democratic Party?
Well, you see, when we are talking politics, there are a lot of considerations, especially the nature of political activities in lead up to elections are very much, peculiar to the situation at hand. And so a lot of things actually happen. The question of whether something is ideal or not is always a question of what is the collective position of the political party. Don't forget, the main essence of a political party is to capture power.
Yeah.
So it will always be left for the decision makers of the party to see how they can be able to manage the situation in such a way that it will place the political party in an advantaged position to capture political power. And this means that even if it is not ideal, because what we're seeing is that it's already embedded in the constitution of the party, this question of rotation. But then because of the condition and circumstances and the forces and interests surrounding the political party, they are now forced to rethink the position of the rotation if it will give them advantage. And what they will be left, the only option they will be left with is to, walk round the clock to see how members of the political party who will be aggrieved from the impending decision that will be taken will be convinced to actually, join the political party in the road to capture political power. And I am particular about the issue of the political party having been in opposition for a very long time, now is faced with this difficulty. And like you have seen in the past, the People's Democratic Party is a party which this issue of crisis and issue of rotation is not a new thing to it.
Now, they
has
have
always
been in
there.
opposition, like you mentioned, for
Yes.
8 years now. It's a new ground being tested by the People's Democratic Party.
Indeed.
After staying in power since 1999, and
Indeed.
then for 8 years being in opposition. They are apparently desperate to get back at the center stage. Do you think this decision will help the party?
Well, it all depends. The decision may help the party if candidates that will in the end be fielded by the party will give the party the advantage to capture power, because it's not all the contestants in the political party that have these characteristics of being able to, when in the end being fielded by the party, help the party in capturing political power. There are many of the contestants who feel that, many of members of the political party who feels that certain contestants, when being fielded by the party, will help the party in being able to mobilize very well across the different zones, especially given that the ruling party is doing a lot in its attempt to really manage the problems that are actually rocking it to be able to capture political power, to maintain political power. So the political party will continue to take its time to engage in discussions with those who feel that it's their right, it's their time in terms of the rotation, to be able to be given the opportunity to be fielded as the candidates of the political party. But one thing is that these decisions that are about to be taken in the next few weeks by the political party will decide whether it will make things for the political party or it will mar things for the political party. So it's such a very sensitive situation. The forces and interests will have to actually galvanize within the political party to be able to say that, okay, these are our issues and this is the way we intend to manage them. But I'm afraid, because there are sentiments, propping up in the political party, because the problems that are actually happening as are viewed by many from outside as characterizing the future in the political party as somewhat not ready to capture political power as an opposition in the polity. So it's important these issues be managed very carefully, because they are fragile, and any attempt to to give some people the opportunity to feel that they are aggrieved with the political party.
Thank you very much,
will
Dr.
automatically give
Ayatu. Now, Mr. James, it's getting more interesting now. Already, like Dr. Ayatu mentioned, we're having this sort of resentment in some parts of the country already, whereby some parts is looking or feeling like they have been sidelined already. And now PDP is trying to try this new style and codes. Do you think it's the right time to test this kind of decision for the People's Democratic
Well, like
Party?
I mentioned earlier, the party may have its own reason for going by this route, but let's not also forget that in the statement by the publicity secretary, he mentioned that the party could also explore the option of a consensus candidate. So I think for the parties that may feel aggrieved by this decision is to begin to appeal to the moral conscience of the party to see if that is possible. But again, this should also serve as a wake-up call to everybody that is considering a political movement like this, that we may not always sit back and be waiting for this sort of handout, but also whatever is the kind of structures that would need to be put in place to better their chances of emerging as candidates of the parties. I think for me, from now going forward, these are also the kind of ideas that they need to start pursuing. I wouldn't want people to always be end up always as second fiddle, like we're just doing it because we're doing you a favor, or we're just giving you this handout because we don't think you deserve it, but because we think for peace to reign, quote unquote, we're handing this out to you. But let it be based on merit, let it be based on competence, but let it also be based on character, like we always say. But then within the spirit of what we see is happening now, the party is right. If that is what the party feel that can give it the better chance of emerging, the better chance of participating or contesting in or getting back power in this process, so be it. We will continue to watch as observers. But like I had said earlier, we just hope that this doesn't also constitute any unnecessary delay in the electioneering process. INEC has said this process must end 180 days to the election. So we are hoping that by June, come what may, that all processes leading to the emergence of candidates for the 2023 will have been concluded.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. James. We're still going to look at the implications of this decision, but for now, let's take a listen to what some people on the street of Abuja have got to say about this People's Democratic Party's decision.
When you zone it, you will not have the right person. But when you leave the floor for everybody, you can be able to choose the right person, and that will emerge as the president of this country.
I think it's a very powerful platform. It's going to be an enabling environment for everyone to be able to serve Nigeria in every capacity.
As far as I'm concerned, issue of election in this country, there's no need quarreling or having debates over issue of zoning. Zoning is not what we need to solve Nigeria problem at this very point in time. As far as I'm concerned, we should actually look inward and solve some of our problem hands down instead of zoning here and there. We should actually look for somebody who will be able to, at this point in time, take us out of the problems that we are in. Not issue about who zoning approves or who zoning does not approve. Because if we are to face our problems genuinely, we should overlook the issue of zoning and do something with ourselves.
The beauty of democracy, because everybody should have access to aspire to any position of his or her own choice. By restricting the choices or zoning restricts other people from aspiring. So I think it's a good development.
To me, I feel it's the best choice actually for the fate of Nigeria at this point, because keeping the ticket open is going to give us an opportunity to actually select, or it's going to give Nigerians, eligible Nigerians out there, the opportunity to exercise their franchise diligently and know that, okay, this person that I'm voted for is actually worthy for this position.
All right, thanks a lot for sticking around. It's still Nigeria Today on NTA News 24, and you've just listened to what some people in Abuja have got to say about this latest decision by the People's Democratic Party. Dr. Hayatu, mixed reactions. A lot of them believe that there's nothing wrong about this decision. It doesn't matter who comes in. It's what they want is good governance. How do you put this into perspective?
Well, actually, it needs to be understood that many actions of political parties are not normally empty. There are rationale and reasons behind every action you see as a collective action, for example, in a political party. Parties need to strategize when they are in competition. Sometimes when they leave the floor open for free contest, it might place them in a disadvantaged position in competition with other political parties in the polity. And that may actually deter them from the opportunities to capture political power. So it is conditions of necessity that produce decisions about whether to zone or not to zone, in order to strategize as a political party to see what are the advantages that will come out of the zoning. Is it that, for example, where is the stronghold of the political party? If a candidate comes from the stronghold of the political party, will it give the political party the opportunity in competition with other political parties? Who are the contestants of other political parties? What is their pedigree? What is their background? What is their opportunities? What are their weaknesses? What are the threats facing them, and all of that are considerations that prompt political parties to strategize in order for them to capture political power. So, I mean, that is the reason why you see this question of zoning actually becomes an issue. Because otherwise, of course, everyone would assume that in a free democratic environment, people should be given the opportunity to contest. In fact, why do you even have political parties in the first place if you don't need to have some sort of decisions and strategies? Otherwise, you would say, okay, there will be no need for political parties. Let everybody just contest and let's choose from the public. But there is the need to corner things and prepare them, you know, and package them in such a way that it will convince people that this is the best way to go. And that is what PDP is trying to do this time round. Because if it doesn't do that, what it means is that this is the somewhat sort of last chance for the party to be able to do what it needs to do. You will look at the position of the PDP in some states in northern Nigeria, for example. Right now, as we speak, a lot of crisis is going on in PDP in Kano State. You know, there are other crises going on, gulping the political party in other important states in the north. So these considerations are part of what the political party will have to look at. And of course, most importantly, what is the position of other political parties that PDP is in contest with them. So, I mean, yes, of course, on the surface, people may see that, of course, we should give the freedom to contest. But it doesn't stop at that. It's a very, like I said, it's a very fragile situation, and it needs to be handled with care by the political
Indeed,
party.
I quite agree with you. The PDP must know how to manage this. Of course, most decisions are born out of necessity. It's part of the strategies that they think can work for them to regain the power. Now, when you want to look at how democratic this is, and looking at the Nigerian situation of hundreds of ethnic groups and then tens of tribes in this country, people are having the resentment that we mentioned earlier. How do we juxtapose this democracy and then the interests of other people, other regions in the country?
Well, I think for me it is very democratic, because democracy is about contest for power, and which is what the party is trying to demonstrate. But like I had said earlier, this is coming on the basis of other subtle arrangements we have seen in the past, and then you begin to talk about what is the morality behind this, all of this. Because if you look, for instance, I know for most people what might be agitating their mind is the fact that somebody from the north had ruled for 8 years, or is finishing the 8th year, and now they feel like it is a turn of the south, and then you are hearing this come up. For me, I hope this is also the beginning of what we are envisaging or hoping to see, that we begin to see how we can take off these encumbrances that are hindering a lot of things in the country. I mean, I agree with some of the viewers, some of the contributors that feel that also were of the view that it should be an open contest and people should be allowed to contest on the basis of what they will contribute. So I'm hoping that even beyond what we are seeing, and we could begin to have conversation in the future about these cases of state of origin, for instance. Maybe this is the time to begin to bring that into the conversation, that if we're taking off this idea of zoning, maybe in the future also this idea of state of origin, I should be free to also contest in a state that I have legally lived for a couple of years, and I feel like I also have the interest, I have the wherewithal to also pursue the interest of that state. Maybe those sort of conversation also need to start happening. But with the current situation of Nigeria, to be honest, that is where the challenge is. Things are a bit dicey, things are a bit sensitive, especially along the fissures, that the ethnic and fissures that have divided us as a people. They are just imaginary lines that are not even there, because if you go to these political parties, beyond what you see on the surface, go and see the kind of fraternity that exists also amongst most of these candidates, most of these people in the party. So I think is the timing right? maybe that is where the question is coming from. If, for instance, one of the party had ruled for 4 years and it's a time for alternation of power, you begin to bring up the question of zoning.
All right, let's get to test whether the timing will be right, because we're also out of time. But Dr. Hayatu, in just 20 seconds, how timely do you think this is for the PDP, and what do you think will be the implication for them? Because it might have a long-time benefit, but in the short term that we are in now, before this 2023 general elections, what do you think will be the implication?
Well, you know, this is coming a bit late for the political party, even though people do not normally express their interest to contest until when it is close to when the ground has been opened up for the contestation. But then it's coming a bit late because you saw how the ruling party has grappled to manage the similar situation. When they went for their primaries, they had to engage in all these consensus candidates, unity lists. This is to avoid explosion in the party. And so also PDP is doing this now to really be able to see how it can manage this internal crisis so that the political party can endure, to be able to go with full force to contest against especially the ruling political party.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hayatu. Is the time right? Okay. Only time too will tell for the People's Democratic Party as they try to go into this contest with the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. And that's it on the program tonight. Nigeria Today, thanks a lot for being part of it. But let's say very big thank you to Mr. Paul James, Programs Manager, Elections, Yega Africa. Thank you for coming. And of course, Dr. Aminu Hayatu, lecturer with the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, and visiting research fellow, Sedat. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you a very good journey back to Kano.
Thank you.
All right, that's the program tonight. It will return tomorrow. Join us again.